When you're giving a presentation at work, for example, the mindset is, people are people. I mean, last night I was doing some work for an executive team in Africa. So there was 10 people there, all at the top of their game, running a company of 7,000 people. And I sort of just had that mindset, people are people. And, I've got things to help them and they're going to help me understand. And with that attitude, sort of their nerves, sort of disappear and dissipate, I suppose. For example, airports can be highly stressful. I say to my kids, who, by the way, in their 30s, I say to them, look, you have to have a mindset of airport time. And it's like you go into a different world. And once you go into that world, you can't be stressed by whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens. I don't know, it's just those sort of things. I'm sure my father gave me that sort of resilience, if you like, an attitude to travel and facing complex and messy things. So I think that would be one thing that I drew from that.
That's
most definitely.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We will talk more about the airport mindset because I have my my experiences and no one around me fully understands that. So maybe that's something that you and I will connect on today. But this sense of confidence, I think it's a big word, Shawn, because I've seen coaches in their 30s and 20s and 40s even come to me and have these conversations around like how hard it is to be confident in a certain situation. And I think reading some research, they did some survey in the US where out of the top 5 things that people fear the most, and terrorism and whatnot, public speaking was one of them. So what is it about, maybe let's start with confidence and then we'll move into public speaking. What is it about confidence that you think is still far-fetched for humanity?
Yeah, look, I think it comes through repeated experience. And I think starting conditions are really important, right? So, when you're young and you have situations where you're brought into a place where, you have to perform in some way. It could be the smallest thing. It could be, my father was big into me shaking hands with other people, right? And for a little kid, that could be a bit daunting, right? Because all his friends were very accommodating and they loved it and it was a simple thing, it just became a normal thing, So, of course, they're all much taller than me, very important people in my mind. And all of a sudden, I kind of realised as a pretty young person that, people are people, And once you've got that, I think that is the stepping stone. Because then, when you're, giving a presentation at work, for example, the mindset is, people are people. I mean, last night I was doing some work for an executive team in Africa. So there was 10 people there, all at the top of their game, running a company of 7,000 people. And I sort of just had that mindset, people are people. And, I've got things to help them and they're going to help me understand. And with that attitude, sort of their nerves, sort of disappear and dissipate, I suppose. So I think that's part of it. And whereas if you have the opposite introduction, right, where you're told to stand back, you're told to, be quiet or, those sort of things, I think, as parents, these are the things that we can help our children with, is give them experience where they get opportunity to be confident, right? Yeah.
And there's no manual to parenting. That's the tough thing about it, right? But I think what you're sharing is, and I often say this on the podcast, I think every episode, that people should sit down with a diary and a pen, because this statement, it sounds extremely simple, that people are people. But if you start to operate with that mindset, it could unlock a lot for everyone, Shawn.
Yes, yeah. But you know what? I had a period in my life, it went for about 3 or 4 years, and it happened just before COVID, and then, and that was a period of anxiety. Like, it was the weirdest thing. I went to give a presentation, it was actually at IBM, and I had all these people in the room who I didn't know, and anyway, I opened up, and I actually burst into tears. And it came out of nowhere, Akash. I couldn't understand what was going on. I was, in retrospect, I discovered I was having an anxiety attack, right? Now, that continued, I don't know, for probably 3 years. I couldn't work out why.
Wow.
And as till this day, I can't really. So when people say they do get nervous or have anxiety, I have a different appreciation that it's not a rational thing, right? You can't just step through it and go, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Bam, you'll sort it out, because it doesn't quite work that way. But I think the way I was kind of lucky that COVID came, because it forced me to be away from people for a period of time. I think it was a stress level thing. I'm not sure, So yeah, it's more complex than what we probably sound like we're suggesting, but understanding that is important.
Absolutely. And then how did you come out of that state? Thank you for watching this clip. If this was of value, then you would love this full podcast episode with the guest that you just saw. I'm just putting this link somewhere left or right of me that you should just click on and watch the full episode. We talk about deep ideas, insights about life, leadership, you as an individual, and you as a professional in this beautiful yet so chaotic world of ours.